Imagine, for one moment, that your favorite sports team won 3 championships in 6 years, and the most crucial player on the ice was the guy whose biggest complaint was that he wasn't allowed to play more. Duncan Keith didn't just play defense. He was the structural integrity of a hockey dynasty, a caffeinated Zamboni driver who happened to have Olympic-level acceleration and the foresight of a chess master playing 3 games simultaneously. Forget the flashy goal scorers. Those guys are the fireworks. Keith was the hydroelectric dam, generating power relentlessly, game after exhausting game. We're not talking about a good player. We're talking about an athletic freak of nature disguised as a slightly undersized defenseman with eternal bedhead, whose primary goal in life seemed to be maximizing his shift time until the laws of physics intervened. Prepare to understand the absurd, almost mythical workload of a modern hockey cornerstone. Most defensemen excel in one area, shutting down opponents or generating offense. But Keith was fundamentally greedy. He demanded mastery of both. His smooth skating style was deceptive. It wasn't just elegance, it was efficiency, allowing him to cover the entire sheet of ice with fewer wasted strides than his peers, which is critical when you're consistently playing 30 minutes a night, an ice time total usually reserved for double overtime playoff contests. Picture a sophisticated Swiss watch built to withstand the pressures of deep-sea exploration. That was Keith's cardiovascular system. The Blackhawks didn't just trust him. They relied on him the way a crumbling bridge relies on its central support pillar. If he faltered, the whole structure collapsed into the murky, cold waters of playoff failure. He wasn't just on the ice for the power play and penalty kill. He was often on the ice before the power play and after the penalty kill, often finishing shift that stretched past 2 minutes without any noticeable drop in intensity, a pace that makes most NHL players gasp just listening to it. Keith's first Norris Trophy in 2010 announced his arrival not as a promising player, but as the reigning monarch of two-way defense, the defensive anchor that finally allowed Chicago's young forwards to flower into superstars without worrying about the catastrophic ensuing turnovers. What few realize is that he spent a significant portion of his early career perfecting a nearly obsolete, highly efficient defensive technique known as the pivot mirror, allowing him to face 2 directions at once while tracking the puck. When they won the Cup that year, the celebration was raucous. Yet Keith looked less celebratory and more mildly annoyed that the season was over, perhaps already planning how he could maximize the number of shifts he could take the following October. The man seemed to view the bench as a brief, unnecessary detour, a mild professional inconvenience before getting back to the real work of effortlessly dominating professional athletes. His intelligence wasn't just about reading plays. It was about calculating future exhaustion levels and pushing past theoretical limits, turning fatigue into just another opponent he had to beat. The 2013 and 2015 Cups cemented his legacy as one of the most durable, dependable players of his generation. And if you look closely at some of the game highlights, particularly during the grueling 7-game semifinal against the Kings in 2014, you can occasionally spot him taking a drink of water while simultaneously breaking up a 2-on-1 rush, a feat of multitasking that borders on the ridiculous. His second Norris came in 2014, cementing his place in the conversation among the greats. But it was 2015 that served as the crescendo of his mythos, a performance so superhuman it necessitated its own dedicated trophy, the Conn Smythe. He didn't just lead the team in ice time during that playoff run. He led the entire postseason in ice time, registering over 700 minutes of pure, punishing hockey, an astronomical figure that dwarfs the workload of almost every other player on the roster. The sheer brutality of the 2015 playoff run culminated in an almost unbelievable, borderline creepy spectacle of endurance. In Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final against Tampa Bay, Keith played nearly 28 minutes, scoring the cup-clinching goal after a classic Keith rush, following his own shot and burying the rebound. But here is the bizarre reality. During the post-game celebration, while everyone else was collapsing in ecstatic exhaustion, Keith appeared remarkably fresh, even slightly bored, as if a 2-month, 23-game gauntlet playing half an hour a night was just a gentle warm-up. This was this spine-chilling moment, The realization that his capacity for sustained, elite effort was not just higher than his peers, it was fundamentally different, like comparing a standard internal combustion engine to a small nuclear reactor. He wasn't just recovering faster. He seemed entirely immune to the pain and fatigue that crippled lesser mortals. The true measure of Duncan Keith wasn't the trophies he held aloft, though there were many, but the silent, unshakable confidence he instilled in every player around him. When Keith hopped over the boards, his teammates didn't just feel safer. They felt invincible, knowing the defensive zone was now encased in an invisible, high-speed tungsten barrier. He transformed the concept of a leader from a guy who shouts motivational platitudes to a guy who simply refuses to stop skating, forcing everyone else to elevate their game just to keep pace with his relentless, machine-like consistency. His legacy is etched not just in the championship banners, but in the sheer, bewildering volume of high-leverage minutes he chewed up, delivering excellence with every single push of his skate blade. The most surprising fact about the man who played more minutes than anyone. During the 2010 playoffs, he played through several games with significant dental damage, famously losing 7 teeth in a collision, only to return to the bench moments later, demanding his next shift without anesthetic or self-pity, embodying the kind of terrifying, single-minded focus usually only seen in cinematic action heroes. He wasn't loud. He didn't grandstand. He simply played hockey at a pace and volume no one else could touch. Duncan Keith didn't just anchor a dynasty. He redefined what physical endurance and intelligent defensive aggression looked like at the highest level of professional sport, playing every game as if the ice was tilting uphill and he was the only one who didn't mind the climb. His departure from Chicago signaled the end of an era, leaving behind a void in ice time and leadership that no single player could ever hope to fill, a testament to the unreplicable nature of his specific brand of relentless, two-way dominance. There are Norris winners who score more, and there are defensemen who hit harder, but there has rarely been a player who so completely consumed and controlled the flow of a championship game through sheer, indomitable will and an engine that simply refused to redline. We often admire the spectacular, forgetting that true genius frequently manifests as effortless, terrifying consistency under extreme pressure. The greatest performances are rarely loud, but they are always felt.